Hello, thank you for joining me. Today I'd like to talk about a technique in tatting that some people who've not been tatting for very long might find intimidating. I did before I figured out how to do it my own way and practiced. And that is starting a pattern using a chain instead of a ring. A lot of patterns start using a ring, and when you start tatting with a ring, then when you switch and turn your work over to start the chain, you have something to hold on to. And this is a simple ring and chain pattern, and the same with the cloverleaf pattern. If you want to work a pattern that starts with a chain, you have to leave a space, a picot on the beginning of the chain to join to when you make your first ring. So you have to start your chain, leave your picot, you're working your chain this way, work your chain, reverse, and then work your ring. There are two ways to do that depending on your colors. If you're going to work your pattern using the same color for your chains and rings, then you can use your continuous thread method. And I'll show that technique first. This is just my large ball that is easier to carry than the large ball, so I have this. You can use a ball or a shuttle and your shuttle. So you have your continuous thread. Excuse me. You're going to use either a large paper clip. If you don't have a paper clip, you can use a large gauge piece of wire. And to start with, you're going to unroll your ball thread a little bit, position the thread on your hand like you're going to start a chain. And you hold your pinch, and obviously you don't have anything to start with, but this is where you're going to be starting. So you put your paper clip on your thread and you include that in your pinch there. You're creating a beginning for your tatting. Now you take your shuttle and you work your first stitch, and you're going to bring the first half of the stitch pretty close to the paper clip, but not too tight because you want to be able to get that off of there. There's your first half and your second half. And then see that it's not too tight there. I'm going to work this pattern. So this chain is 12. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, now you're going to need to take that off of there, but you're not going to do that quite yet. Take it off your hand. Now you're going to flip that over because now you're going to work your ring. So now the ring is this is a basic 4, 4, 4, 4 pattern, but I'm going to do 4, 8, 4. So we're going to do the first 4. Now you do your standard ring, put that on your hand, do your first stitch, pull that close to the base of your chain. 2, 3, 4. Now you're going to carefully take your paper clip out of that picot, and don't worry, it's not going to fall away. It's being held in there, but just be careful about it. Pull that out of there, And you see you have this, now you have a picot to join to. So now you just treat that as any other picot. Put your crochet hook through there, and you might need a smaller crochet hook. Pull that up, put your shuttle through there, complete your join. Now this is, you want to pull that and manipulate it so you can't see any of the space. And then do your next stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do a picot, 2, 3, 4. Close your ring. And there is your chain, start, join to your first ring. Now that's using the continuous thread method with one color of thread. What if you want to do 2 colors where your chains are one color and your rings are another? This is an example of that method. I wanted the chains and the rings on the bottom part of this pattern to be green and the top rings to be pink to represent flowers. How did I start this chain and hide the ends there? To do that, you use your ball thread, and here again, you don't necessarily need to have your ball thread wound on a shuttle. I did to work this because you need a shuttle to work these rings. But to work this pattern, you don't necessarily need another shuttle. So what you're going to do is you're going to tie your 2 colors together just using a square knot. Pull that tightly. Now this is a good way though. This is a little easier because then you can hold on to that knot when you're making your first chain. So now you're going to make your chain. We're going to do 12. Now here again, you have to put your paper clip on to hold your picot space. So you put your paper clip on there, and and here again, this is a technique that you're going to need to practice to get comfortable for yourself. It may look intimidating, but once you figure out what the thread needs to do after a couple times, it really isn't that hard. All right, so now put your paper clip on there, make the first half of your stitch, and pull that close to your paper clip. And do the second half. Do the rest of your stitches for your chain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Now you're going to flip that over because now you're going to do your ring. Start your ring and do 4 double stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you're going to pull your ends out of the way and remove the paper clip. Make sure you can see your picot. Use your crochet hook and join to that picot. Make sure not to split your thread. Remove your space, get that stitch as close as possible to the base of that chain. Now take your ends and lay them next to your shuttle thread. Now, when you do your next stitch, you're going to include those ends. You're going to hide the ends in the rest of the ring. Do the first half of the stitch, and because the ends are in the front, you can see the core thread is going from front to back. You're going to lay that over and bring the ends from front to back through your ring, through your loop. Pull with this hand and bring your stitch over those ends to the base of your chain. So now you're going to have the ends to the back. Do the second half of your stitch. And if you see, because they're at the back, your core thread is coming from the back through your loop to the front. Pull your ends from back to front. And again, pull that tight, and you're hiding your ends. So now you leave them to the front. You're going to do another stitch. First half, front to back, pull tight. Second half, back to front, pull tight. And as I said, this pattern is 4, 8, 4. I usually hide my ends in 3 or 4 stitches and then cut them off. So I'm going to do one more stitch, front to back, back to front. Now, very carefully, separating out your ends and your shuttle thread and your ring thread, take your scissors and cut off those ends as close as possible without cutting through your ring. Now, I did 3 stitches. Now I'm going to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do another picot. 2, 3, 4. Make sure it slides. Close your ring. And there's your chain with your ring attached, ready to reverse and do your next chain. And this is a chain of 8. So then you just start your next chain, bringing your stitch as close as possible to the base of your ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Flip that over and you're ready to do your next ring. Once you practice that and you figure out how it feels most comfortable to you, starting a chain first before you start your ring, you will understand is not that difficult, and it will give you much more freedom to do a lot different type of patterns. This is an example. This is one of my favorite edging patterns, starting with the chain. And then you work 2 rings, another chain, your clover leaf, a chain, 2 more rings, another chain, join to this picot, and then you repeat. And this is a size 20 thread, which worked very well on this angel. This is a size 10 thread, and this is my spool that I use to hold my crochet hooks. I wanted to give you an idea on how to work this technique so that you can practice it and not find it as intimidating as I did to begin with. I hope I have explained this, and I hope you will keep practicing. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.